Fantastic Beasts, where are they? Have you seen them yet? Is very much steeped in Harry Potter mythology. In fact, there's a bunch of Easter eggs and references tying this movie to the books, the other films in the series, as well as hints towards the future of the franchise. This video is going to cover all of that, including ties to Hogwarts, Voldemort, magical spells, the creatures we saw, and more, including giving away a loot crate at the end. I can't wait. I mean, I can, and I will. You don't have to wait though, you can just skip to the end. Like magic, but more like, technology, just very basic and easy to comprehend modern technology. Okay, let's start with our protagonist, Newt Scamander, who's a bit of a bloody Harry Potter legend, this bloke. Now, if you're a Harry Potter fan, you're probably aware that he published a book called Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them in 1927, a year after this movie is set, and has been used as a staple of wizarding education ever since. J.K. Rowling actually released a copy of it in 2001, with a large chunk of the proceeds going to charity. Now, as far as his recorded history goes, he's said to have been alive in 2015, making him at least 118 years old, and also married to Tina. So everything kind of works out for this guy. Good on him. In fact, one of his grandsons ended up marrying Luna Lovegood. So you got a nice little connection there to the Harry Potter films. It's mentioned in passing that he was thrown out of Hogwarts, and whilst we'll probably get more information on this in the coming 4 films, J.K. Rowling shed some light on the situation recently.
Why did he get expelled?
He took the blame for something that someone else did.
How did he get a...
That's significant, but I can't tell you why.
We do know, however, that the other person involved in his expulsion is someone called Leta Lestrange, who's played by Zoe Kravitz, who's only seen in picture form in the film. She's a relation of Bellatrix Lestrange, one of Voldemort's most loyal followers, and responsible for a number of shitty things, including the torture of Neville Longbottom's parents to the point of insanity and the murder of Gary Oldman, professional actor. Newt is never seen in the Harry Potter films, but he does show up on the Marauders map in The Prisoner of Azkaban, whilst visiting the school for unknown purposes. There are a number of references to the wider world of Harry Potter. Hogwarts is mentioned a number of times, and we specifically hear the name Albus Dumbledore, who's yet to be cast.
What makes Albus Dumbledore so fond of you?
And we'll have to be seeing him soon because he plays a big role in the rise and fall of Grindelwald. I'll get into more of that in a bit. We see a Hufflepuff scarf, which is the house Newt was in at school, house elves, a visible sky in the MACUSA building, like there is in the Great Hall, plus a reference to Quidditch when Newt is asked if he's a seeker and he replies that he's more of a chaser. The death potion used to melt wizards just for any and all reasons, apparently, with very little oversight, appears to act as some kind of terrible, acidic pensive, which is a kind of font you can store memories in, and the phrase Merlin's beard is heard, which is apparently a common thing said in this universe.
Merlin's beard!
Newt also mentions that he's worked with the Ukrainian Iron Belly during the First World War, which is coincidentally the same breed of dragon that resides in Gringotts. We see the return of a number of magical spells and items. Alohomora is used to open up locked doors. Petrificus Totalis is seen to incapacitate someone at the bank. Newt tries out Accio, the summoning charm, to pull Jacob towards him, also in the bank. A variation of Obliviate is implemented en masse at the end of the film to wipe the memory of everyone in New York. Like Men in Black, but with a potion and a giant bird or something. I don't know, that part was a bit odd. The clock scene at MACUSA is similar to the one seen in the Weasley household that doesn't so much tell time, but more sort of point to how things are at the present situation. And we see a protective barrier cast in the final act over the train station to stop people from entering. Similar to what we saw the teachers perform in the Deathly Hallows Part 2 in order to protect the school and its students. Credence is thought by Graves or Grindelwald to be a squib, a person from a magical family with 0 magical abilities, like that groundskeeper, that real shit bloke. But it turns out that he's been suppressing his powers in order to hide himself, which then manifests in a big black angry cloud and one of the worst haircuts ever committed to film. Queenie is naturally gifted in reading minds. We've seen this before in other magical characters, including Snape. Dragonpox is said to have killed her and Tina's parents, a disease that you're much more susceptible to if you're older. It's kind of like chickenpox, except it also turns you green and sparks shoot out your nose when you sneeze. It's not really that much like chickenpox. It's not explicitly stated, but Grindelwald was probably using Polyjuice Potion to impersonate Graves, like Barty Crouch Jr. used to impersonate Mad Eye Moody. Barty Crouch also had a similar case to what we saw in this film, that being it's bigger on the inside, like a TARDIS, or another example of a thing that relates to what we're talking about. The American wizarding system has some notable differences from the British one. Let's get into a few. Budding wizards attend Ilvermorny, not really sure how that's pronounced, but that's their version of Hogwarts' school of witchcraft and wizardry and whatnot. And it also has its own houses. There's Cat Gone Wrong, Snake in a Knot, Mullet Monster, and bird wants a hug. Unlike England, a wand permit is required if you legally want to carry one, and the system of government is enforced by the Magical Congress of the United States of America, or MACUSA for short. But really it should be called McOt-us-Uwa. Also, the prejudices that exist concerning purebloods and mudbloods and the like, that didn't carry over to the US. In fact, whether you come from magical stock or not is really no concern of anybody's. There is, however, a greater divide between the muggles, or no-magers, and the wizarding community. This stems from the Salem witch trials from the 17th century and resulted in the Scourers' rise to power, which is sort of like a version of Death Eaters who would track down anybody who was deemed a threat to the magical community. Things got out of hand with this, however, and they became corrupt and just real dicks about everything. The divide between the two groups led to it being illegal to have a relationship with someone from the non-magical world. During the time period this film is set, prohibition is in full force in the States. However, a law was passed allowing wizards to drink giggle water and the like, even though a drunk wizard would presumably be pretty easy to spot. But this was done because it was said having magical abilities in the US was hard enough. Also, the American currency is called Dragot. Native Americans are capable of using magic without wands, a skill normally reserved for the most powerful wizards. Oh, and the most popular sport is quad pot, even more popular than Quidditch. Here's a picture of it. See what you got? You got your starting circle, then you got your pot over here, and it's simply a matter of getting the pot either in or out of the scoring circle, but maybe not over this line. Look, full disclosure, I have no idea what any of this means. But I do know the ball is explosive for some reason, because why not? Okay, why don't we briefly touch on the fantastic beasts that appear in the film. The movie only features a dozen or so creatures from the book, which excludes the majority of the 70 plus animals that are listed. But we've got Niffler, Bowtruckle, Thunderbird, Occamy, Erumpent, Demiguise, Swooping Evil, and more. Most but not all of these creatures appear in the book that was published in 2001. For example, the Thunderbird is missing. That being said, there's something like 52 editions of it, so it may appear in one of the other numerous publications. Okay, spoiler alert, I guess. But you've probably seen the movie, and I did mention it earlier, so I guess who cares? But look, I want to talk about the villains. So it turns out that Colin Farrell was Johnny Depp the whole time. And by that I mean Graves is actually Grindelwald, one who was considered to be the most powerful and dangerous dark wizard of all time before the rise of Voldemort. He's seen a couple of times in the Harry Potter films as a very young man and then as a very old man who you might recognize as the Nazi Indiana Jones beats up and then throws over a cliff in a model tank. The reason Grindelwald takes an interest in Dumbledore's relationship with Newt is because they used to be friends and shared very similar ideals in terms of wizards ruling the world and also an obsession with acquiring the Deathly Hallows, which if you've seen those movies you know consists of an unbeatable wand, an invisibility cloak, and a rock that means you can hang out with dead people. The two of them differ in terms of how wizards should wield their power. Grindelwald just wanted to rule in general, but Dumbledore wanted to rule for the greater good of humanity. It's been said that they had an intimate relationship, but Rowling's has clarified that this was probably more one-sided, as Grindelwald could be considered a user and a narcissist, and though they did share a strong bond, Dumbledore was most likely being emotionally manipulated, which was very much what we saw happening to Bolcut. So anyway, a three-way battle ends up breaking out between Grindelwald, Dumbledore, and his brother Aberforth, and resulted in the accidental death of Dumbledore and Aberforth's younger sister, Ariana. And just quickly on the topic of her, side note, it's been speculated that she, like Credence, was an Obscurus. She was tormented by some muggle children when she was young, resulting in her suppressing her magical abilities, which meant she was often unstable and volatile. Also, side note, on that side note, there's a deleted scene where Haircut doesn't actually die, and he's seen taking a boat at the end of the film away from New York. So don't be surprised if you see this stupid looking head reappear in future films. Okay, back on track, Dumbledore blamed himself for his sister's death, even though it was unclear who cast the killing spell, and himself and Grindelwald parted ways. Grindelwald, though, continued his obsession with the Deathly Hallows, and even used the symbol as his own personal emblem, so it became synonymous with evil, and you do see him with that symbol in Fantastic Beasts. The next 4 movies, they won't really be focusing on Newt Scamander, though he will appear, but more on Grindelwald amassing power, which parallels Hitler's rise and will then culminate in the famous showdown between himself and Dumbledore in 1945, again coinciding with the Nazi regime, but the tail end. Dumbledore was thought to be reluctant to face him because he was afraid Grindelwald would reveal that he was responsible for killing his own sister. They also say it was the greatest wizarding duel of all time, and who am I to say it wasn't? I wasn't there. Plus, it's not a real thing that happened. Grindelwald then spent the next 50 odd years in prison before being killed by Voldemort, who was after the location of the Elder Wand, Dumbledore having it, of course, after defeating Grindelwald, though we don't see Grindelwald with it in Fantastic Beasts. So he's either yet to come across it or he doesn't have it on him. It was said that he felt regret in the later years of his life for his actions, which I can understand, but at the same time, what a total prick. Okay, last thing, this movie was set in 1926, the same year as Voldemort's birth, and I'd say there's a fairly good chance we see him show up in future movies as a young man, like we did in flashback form in some of the other Harry Potter movies, specifically this one. I think it's Half-Blood Prince. Maybe it isn't. I'm fairly certain it is. You know what it is. I'm going to back myself. Okay, before I give away a loot crate, I just wanted to let everybody know that this Thursday sees the return of Caravan of Garbage, a series that is a thing that happens on this channel. That's where we look at something, a book or a comic or a video game or a movie that might be a bit of a hidden gem or just, total crap. This series will be a trilogy and will be Star Wars based, leading up to Rogue One. And there'll be a new video here, an extended podcast edition, available every Thursday for 3 weeks, in addition to the regular Sunday video, like this one, that you are watching. If you want to come along for that, you're more than welcome, and if you want, you can switch on notifications as a reminder. Okay, so here's the winner of last week's Loot Crate. Just private message me these details on my channel, and it's all yours. And if you want to win next week's box, just leave any comment below. Could be on your favorite Easter egg, something that I've missed, or even what you want to see in the next Fantastic Beasts movie. Also, this Monday on my podcast, The Weekly Planet, we're going to be getting stuck right into Fantastic Beasts and where you can find those particular beasts in the form of an in-depth review. That's linked below along with other videos you might enjoy. Those are clickable video links there, by the way. They even work on mobile, like magic. But again, it's not really like magic, it's fairly standard technology. I'm just trying to, keep this whole thing on point, alright? But thanks for watching this video. I appreciate it. Take care.